What is up, my friends? So, in honor of Halloween this month, I decided to do a month long of videos relating to the horror genre. So, yesterday I released my top slasher films. Today I am doing my top found footage. And let me say right off the bat, I know found footage pretty much is a like laughing stock type of genre when it comes to movies and horror, especially because for the most part they're usually done very cheesy. And there was a point after one of my choices where it became such a huge thing to release these, and it was just all over the place, and people were just like, yeah, I think we've had enough. And so now we are pretty much at the point where I think we could have some revitalization of this. Now, of course, I don't think we're in the same headspace in the 90s and early 2000s and mid 2010s where people found it a little bit more believable. I think there's much more skepticism, as well as it's easier to just find actors who were actually in this, as opposed to previously when not many people were on the internet and were able to find these things out on their own. But nonetheless, here are some top ones you should watch. So number 5 on my list is going to be the OG, and I know this isn't the first found footage horror film. There were more in the early 90s and 80s, but this, I think, was the one that really sparked that found footage and was really the most successful one, to where people said, I want to do that. And that, of course, is the Blair Witch Project. There are sequels which didn't really hit that mark, I believe, but this one really ignited this fire that we have, and now we're here. And so I think that we are definitely getting to a point where it looks like that fire is trying to ignite. We have BHS 94 coming out tomorrow, which I think is trying to do that. But I think Blair Witch was the one that really set that ablaze. So that's why it's number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list is going to be Lake Mungo. Now, this is more of a slow burn found footage horror, true crime feel of it. It does have some supernatural elements, I feel, to it as well. And the reason that this one is on my list is because it's so creepy. It's so eerie. Especially if you watch this by yourself at night in the dark, I don't think you're going to go to sleep right after. You're going to have to put something stupid to watch on TV or something like that before you can feel comfortable going back to sleep. I think it just has so much dread, so much creepiness, and it's so eerie. It just crawls under your skin. So definitely one to check out there. Number 3 on my list is the one that if Blair Witch ignited that fire and then the fire got doused in water, this next one was pretty much like gasoline and then pump that fire again, and it is Paranormal Activity. I think this is definitely the crucial turning point in found footage where not Paranormal Activity, but Blair Witch sort of set that idea for you. Paranormal Activity just kicked it into high gear, and then we got an onslaught of found footage horror films from this one. This was a cultural phenomenon. If you weren't around during the time of the marketing and all of that, you could not escape it. It was everywhere, and it was so very much so the topic of talk wherever you went. If you went to school, if you were at work, all of that, everybody was talking about this movie. Everybody went to go see this movie. It was just something different at the time, and I think it hit well, and from that spawned so much more as well. Of course, the movies that came after this were pretty much shit. I still believe that the first one is golden and definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. Number 3 on my list is going to be Cloverfield. I think Cloverfield was one that was still a little bit of ahead of its time. It did come out before Paranormal Activity, but I do believe it was very much so still setting up found footage to be more than just horror. This was more of a sci-fi thriller type of feel to it. And definitely the marketing and everything with this one was very strategic as well. It was very in the shadows. People were trying to decipher this mystery, and it sort of started this sort of Easter egg hunt online, even before online became what it is known today. I think this is even pre-Facebook and things like that. So MySpace and things like that. were pretty much the way to try and decipher forums, all of that. So I thought that the marketing for this was cool, and I thought that the engagement as well was amazing. So I was excited to see this one be a movie that really paved the way for marketing in general when it came to movies in the future. And I think J.J. Abrams knocked it out of the park with this one. Number 1 on my list is going to be Wreck. Wreck, I feel, is definitely the best found footage horror film. Of course, I'm not talking about what came after, what they turned it into. It's just that first film was flawless. It was very terrifying. It was very much so one that came with surprises, and really still to this day would feel like a better, like, all of these are fake, of course, we know that, but this one definitely felt very realistic, and it was very good. I think I really suggest you watch this if you haven't already. Of course, there were spin-offs, there were translations, there were remakes, all of that, but I think the original is the one that you definitely have to check out if you haven't already, because just the way that it felt so raw and in your face, and it just was like I said, something that feels you could have found this tape. So definitely really recommend Wreck. But those are my top 5, of course. I know that these might not be your top 5, so I'm very curious to know what it was that made it to your top 5. Or if you hate found footage horror films, I really like to know your opinion on whether this genre can be revitalized or not. As I said, with social media and everything, it just seems unlikely. Now, I do know that we are getting that film, that ARG film, which I've talked about already in my channel. So I'll make another video on that pretty soon. But it just feels like we are at a point where they're trying to sort of like revitalize this again. And I could definitely see it work out if it's done right. There's certain keynotes you have to hit. You can't do what Paranormal Activity did. You can't do what the Blair Witch Project did. You have to do what is in the culture right now. And that's going to be hard to do, I feel. So I feel like there's going to be a ton of projects that are just going to come and fall flat on their face. But I think that there is going to be some that are going to succeed and definitely show us something amazing with this. So let me know your thoughts below on these lists that I had, and if you would definitely be excited to see this genre come back. Which one is your favorite on my list? Let me know in the comments down below. But as always, that is going to do it for me. As I said, we'll have a ton of videos all month long related to horror. Tomorrow I'll be talking about my top horror films of the 2010s, and so don't miss out on that. We'll also be talking American Horror Story, new episode tomorrow, and some theories as well on Thursday. So jam-packed. New What If tomorrow as well, season finale. So you know we're talking about that and what it means for the MCU. So pretty packed week. Very excited to see what comes out of it. If you haven't already subscribe, turn on the notification bell. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Let's get to it. And as always, check out the video on the left if you haven't already. And don't forget to comment down below your favorite horror movie, as I am compiling a big list for a video to release the week before Halloween. I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.